me.
Tell your own story.
Yeah, I was like, that's right. Yeah. And it's like, if what I'm doing fits into what you want, then all right.
Then I'm the guy.
But that's another set of issues altogether. Because it's like, you get really trapped in the middle of a lot of things. Luckily for me, I started getting into computers before I actually went back to it. And so I was lending myself to just pure design. It didn't have no race involved. It didn't have nothing.
What was the year you remember that you started using the computer?
I started using 95.
95?
Because it was like 94.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It wasn't 93. I was just starting to touch shit. But I remember 94. It was like, all right, I started getting the Windows, but 95 specifically because Windows 95 came out. And I was like, oh! And I didn't know how to do anything. And yet, it seemed like I did. I just took all my regular old school skills and just put them into stuff that's not even made for what it was doing. But I was doing t-shirt designs. It was all from Microsoft Word documents. I was doing t-shirt designs. I was doing this, that. I was using the art. There's a corny little art program in there. I was doing full stuff, but it was so limited, and yet I still made it translate from what I was from my end. But it was an amazing time.
So you did have customers. You finished the first college you went to. And you have customers, and you're thinking that you're playing with computers, and you're thinking you need to go back to school. Mm-hmm. How did you come out to that decision, and what school did you go to?
Well, I came to the decision because I didn't know if I wanted to go back to school. I actually liked the lifestyle because I was traveling. Mm-hmm. I would just do a job, leave for a month.
Living the art life.
Yeah, I do a job, leave. That's why it's funny. I traveled so much back then. I didn't even make all that much money. Mm-hmm. But I traveled everywhere. Now I actually make some money, and I ain't going nowhere. Hardly. But that's, oh man, it's just its own thing.
You're an adult now.
Exactly. That sucks. But I decided, you know what? I don't even feel like it's the same thing again. I felt like they were like, yeah, Newark School of Fine Arts, that's all right. But it isn't the greatest of schools, even though I learned so much. Oh my God, there's classes in there that the more expensive schools never even thought to have, and I'm like, dude, I almost paid nothing for that school. I'm paying so much for this one, but
that was the detriment in the way they saw you is where you
again. See, there's always a hoop. So I'm like, all right, I was gonna go to School of Visual Arts again. The same school I was gonna go before, but then I was like, you know what? My cousin just moved to Atlanta. I said, so let's see what's going on here. And then I went to the High Museum. Mm-hmm. Like, oh man, it's awesome. And I looked over and I seen Atlanta College of Art. And I was like, well, let me try this school. I had my portfolio. I used to carry my portfolio everywhere. Mm-hmm. I literally just walked in and the lady was like, you're in. But the school is hard to get into. Uh-huh. But remember, I was already 26. Mm-hmm. So from 21 to 26, I was pretty much professional. I had already won grants, did children's book covers. My first book, it was like 200 illustrations.
What?
200 illustration book. And I did a graphic novel. 200-page graphic novel.
We need to find the links to get those. Where are those at?
I do not know where that book is. It's out there.
You remember the title and the
It was
writers?
100 Black Inventors, and they had like 4 series. So I did about 400. And actually, that illustration, it actually helped me. I got to really understand the human face more. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And that's kind of why I actually focus on that. Still, because of that.
All right, so you're doing all this stuff, and you walk into the school and you show them your work, and then they're like, "Yeah, you're in."
Yeah.
Now, make sure you pay your tuition.
Yeah. And you know what? It's funny. I was like, all right, and I thought it was cool, but I already went to art school. Mm-hmm. So the second time I went, it was a different mindset. Plus, I was a little bit older, even though I didn't look old at all. Mm-hmm. That's when when you met me.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, they thought I was young, so young that they kept telling me for my parents' permission for stuff, and I'm like, what are you talking about, man? Dude, I'm 26, and they look like what? They actually screwed up my financial aid like that. They thought I was a kid, and then so I stayed in Atlanta for a year before I went to ACA. That's even when I met you. Within that year time of just hanging around, that's when I met you. Okay. And I was just like, what is it with Atlanta? I just was like, well, let's see what the Atlanta art scene is. Because I know what the northern New Jersey art scene is, and I know the New York art scene. I can't get in. So I'm like, let's see what Atlanta is. I was like, there can't be that many people who have this type of philosophy built into their art with the type of background that I have. It just can't happen because Atlanta's a different place. Like it's impossible. And I realized that actually that bizarre background and sticking so many things in there and
it was here.
Not only was it here, but it was almost like everybody was starting at ground zero here. It's almost like all the artists like me came to Atlanta at the same time.
Yeah.
I was like, I was like, wait a minute, we're all at ground zero
we're gonna
here.
Tell the whole new story how we want.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But something that didn't happen to me in New Jersey happened here is that there's actually an old dynamic here that isn't in New Jersey. It's actually there too. Though I'm not even gonna front. But it's just so many. Everyone's kind of looking for the next Basquiat, next this, next that up there. That they're just like, okay, you're urban artist, whatever. What do you do? And then they shoo you away. But here, it's split. There's the traditional old school. There's old antebellum, and then there's us. and you're trying to figure out where you fit and how you fit. And then I realized I didn't even know that Atlanta, Georgia, the whole state of Georgia, is one of the least in terms of for arts, in terms of helping art. It's just one of the least. Not saying it's not a bad. It's actually one of the easiest places to live. That's why I'm still here for artists. But in terms of just pure art support, that's why with things that you're doing is just invaluable because they had. Remember when we came, there was a bigger art like. Wherever there were a couple organizations that they actually defunded for the arts that were here when we were here, like when we got here, and I actually did an art book project with that organization. They're not even here no more. Matter of fact, a lot of these organizations have folded, and it's kind of sad because Atlanta is trying to be like New York. They're building you see Ponce now.
Right.
But you can't just do that without the art scene. Right. The art scene grow. That's what actually made people want to go to Soho. Made people want to go to parts of Brooklyn. It was the arts. It wasn't build these beautiful things and they'll come. It was like, where's the galleries? I always say the same thing. Like, well, if you build all this, you gotta have galleries and you gotta have this. And that's where huge.
And it's the artists who are doing it. They're doing it. They're building the collectives. We're the ones.
But that's kind of sad.
Yeah, because
we're the artists. You gotta survive.
Yeah.
And that's the whole thing about Atlanta, man. So but like I said, I'm still here. So it's actually an easier place to live for an artist. Because I'd be almost dead in New Jersey. I can honestly say, between New Jersey and New York, I would probably be doing a whole lot more. Like my name would be out there more, but man, I probably would have been a drug addict. I probably would have been all messed up. I'm telling you, because it ushers you into that.
Yeah.
Like it just is. It is what it is. I mean, that's how Basquiat died. And it's funny when I was up there between the time before I moved to Atlanta and I was there. I was kind of going through Basquiat's steps without even knowing. I was in the same places he hung out in Washington Square Park and in the Village. I was going up to Harlem. The difference is, which is something we didn't even talk about. There's a little gap between coming to Atlanta and there, and that was the whole pro-black, pro-African scene that had absolutely exploded in 91 to 92 7, really, right till I left. Actually, that like 6-year span. That to me is the underlying power. The underlying entity that's kind of powering my art is that I got into. I started watching Dr. John Henrik Clarke for the first time. Mm-hmm. I seen him live. Mm-hmm. I seen Dr. Amos Wilson live. I seen a lot of these people that people were just putting clips. I used to go to this place called the Slave Theater in Brooklyn. It was, anyone who's been to the Slave Theater they'll be like, they'll know. Like, if you go there, that means you've been to something that's nowhere else on this planet Earth. And they were all there. Mm-hmm. Like, they would come every week on a Wednesday. I would just myself, my little self, get on the train from Elizabeth and just go into Brooklyn, go there, and it changed my life. It changed the perspective of everything, man. Mm-hmm. It changed everything for me because I was like, oh, we are somebody. Like, the whole time I'm trying to figure out where the hell do I fit in. Mm-hmm. And they're like, not only do you fit in, you made the damn thing.
The consciousness was building out and getting everywhere.
Oh man!
And if you were up to date, you were becoming conscious.
That's
it's
right. Insane.
Yeah.
And then I was like, wait a minute now. Mm-hmm. I don't have to follow this European canon of anything. Mm-hmm. I don't have to do it. I could do something else. And I've been in that something else spot for a very long time. It was going to totally be here. Mm-hmm. Am I gonna do? What is it gonna be? But it's not gonna be. I'm not gonna do no little girl on the porch with pigtails and the grandmother with a Bible in her hand. You know that. Mm-hmm. I'm not gonna do no antebellum junk. Mm-hmm. I ain't gonna do old churches. I ain't gonna do old baseball players.
So you're not setting up a booth at Piedmont one of those art festivals?
I have utmost respect for those type of artists who do that stuff. Yeah. But I'm telling you right now, as we've been talking, my background does not lend itself to the good old bad old days. Yeah. Okay? I'm trying to either.
If that little girl has pigtails, she also has a weapon.
If she had pigtails,
there's 2 suns in the sky.
If she had pigtails, that's because they were in a range somewhere in the near future, and she was just getting water and air and changing the solar panels. We're not playing. We're not playing. And it's funny. All I'm doing, I realized what I was actually doing. I'll tell you that as we continue, but I realized the end result of all this. It took a long time, but
it took a long time.
Yeah, to figure out why is the images. Why am I? What am I fighting against? What am I not? Do I even want fame? Mm-hmm. People always tell me the same thing, man. You should be huge in New York, and but I'm like, why? Uh-huh. Michael Jackson was a billionaire. He's dead. Yeah. Is that what you want?
Yeah.
Basquiat, for some reason, they look at him as one of the greatest American artists. And I'm not saying he's not. I'm just saying he's dead. And he didn't have time to really grow. It was really from 21 to 20, like 7 or 8, he's dead. It takes longer. You don't know how his art was gonna grow or not. But they fast forwarded his life. I'm like, dude, I got a lot more stuff to create. If anyone's gonna fast forward their lives, it's gonna be me. I'm gonna fast forward my own life.
That's right.
So you do it,
and I think that's what I get when you disappear. That you're like, because I don't see you around. We talk twice a year, and then and it's like you want your message is getting more and more refined, more and more into what you're doing. Even though you're still doing commercial work, you're still doing jobs. But when it comes to your art, your stories becoming tighter and tighter and tighter.
And thanks, by the way. Yeah. But the thing is, I don't want to. I never want to be exactly where I was a year before with my art. I always want to do something newer and progress it. But I kind of take those times off to disappear. Really, I'm going inside myself. And what can I change now? And it's funny